Próximo domingo. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to our public meeting, Sunday's public meeting. So to start off, let's remind about our Arabic lunch fundraiser that is going to happen on the 23rd, next Sunday. And we invite everyone to join us for this lunch. It's going to be after our public meeting. So for those that enjoy Arabic lunch, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great, and also this is going to help us with our monthly expenses. And those that have any questions regarding the fundraiser or how this lunch is going to happen, please reach out to us. You can talk to one of us, Luis, João, myself, Carol, and we can give you some information regarding this lunch. Okay? Thanks again for joining us. Let's start our public meeting today, or reflections today, with the book The Way, the Truth, and the Life, written by Francisco Cândido Javier, by the Spirit of Emmanuel. And the text that we chose to read today is the 16th, called Make Straight the Way. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So, make straight the way of the Lord, as said the prophet Isaiah, John the Baptist. So, the exhortation of the precursor continues to hang in the air, inviting men and women of goodwill to the regeneration of their usual ways. All the time, we see people who come to the faith eager for what Christ has to offer. They long for His peace and divine presence, but sometimes, after their best sentiments give way to unjust anxiety, they ended up discouraged and defeated. Where is Jesus? Why hasn't He answered their continual pleas? In what distant realm, so far from their sufferings, does the Master reside? They do not understand that Christ might be found every day, right beside every true disciple, in the kindly messengers of His love. They lack dedication to their own inner good. They run in pursuit of the Divine Master, heedless of John's counsels. Make straight the way. In order for one to feel Christ's sanctifying influence, one must strengthen the pathway on which one has been living. Many persons weep on the byways of wrongdoing. They mourn for themselves on the slippery slopes of continuous errors. They call out to heaven, but continue to hang on to the pressing passions of the material realm. Under such circumstances, it is not appropriate for the soul to address the Savior, who accepted humiliation and the cross without complaints of any kind. If you want Jesus to come and sanctify your activities, then make straight the ways of your life and regenerate your impulses. Get rid of the darkness that surrounds you, and you will feel Him beside you with His blessings. So let's pray. Let's raise our thoughts in our hearts to our Master Jesus and feel His blessings. can feel His consoling that He sends to us continuously every time. Let's open our hearts and our minds for the reflections today, so we can have a good understanding of God's law that Jesus taught us and exemplified them in every minute of His life within us. Let's follow the pathway of love, the road of love that Jesus built for us. Let's surrender ourselves to God, our Father, to His love and His mercy, in order to be able to complete our journey in harmony, peace, and love. May Jesus help us to have good reflections today that help us with our understanding in our minds and in our souls regarding our own pathway, our own journey, so we can make good decisions and have good consequences of our decisions, of our choices. Open our hearts, and we can open our hearts for the inspirations that comes from our guardian angels and from Jesus. So be it. Perfect. All right. So today we are gonna review, we're gonna reflect upon this Jesus teaching. He will reward each person according to what they have done. We can see this in Matthew chapter 16, verse 27. And what do you think that this is regarding? Which law, which God's law Jesus was teaching here? Any guess?
Cause and effect.
Cause and effect. Perfect. So here Jesus is saying, basically, to each of us we receive the consequences, the effects of the causes that we own created. We have this way to think that this law, it's a punishment law. But we will, hopefully we can see today that it's not. That this law is a love law, because it comes from God. And everything that comes from God is from love itself. So how we can see, how does it mean this cause and effect law in our lives? How we can deal with it, how we can understand it better, and how we can act upon it to help ourselves in our journey. Joana de Angelis, the Divaldo Pereira Franco's mentor, she says that we are heirs of ourselves. Nós somos herdeiros de nós mesmos. So, that being said, we can think that our lives today is the result of acts that, or thoughts and acts that we had yesterday. It's the echo. Whatever we have tell to life, we receive it back. And what we can do in order to say better words, better acts to this life, to the life, so we can receive echoes that are more love, that are more perfect, they're more harmonized. In English, we have a nice word to say that. It's a perfect word that says feedback. So, what is the feedback of our lives? To provide a better analogy, let's think that our lives is like a car. So we are driving a car. Okay. So when you are driving a car, we have lots of feedbacks. We have the feedback from our senses, our sight, our hearing. Okay, we are seeing the road, we are seeing the car, we are seeing the wheel, we are seeing other cars around us. We are hearing the sirens of the ambulances or fire trucks or other cars beeping. Right? So we are aware of everything that is happening around it, that car. Hello, hello. Good morning. And we also have the car, right? We can receive the feedback from the car itself, like the engine. If there's any flashing lights, if you are pushing too hard, I guess, or if you need to pump the brakes, like we have that. The car itself is providing us feedback. How it goes, like how it's going. Like if there's something wrong, the car will advise us. The tire is flat, or there's not enough fuel. We are receiving that feedback. We also have feedback from the road. The road is straight, or it has a curve. It has some potholes, or anything that's wrong with the road. We also have the road signs, right? If there is a curve ahead, if there is a stop mark, there's many signs that we need to see in order to drive, in order to have a smooth driving. So the same in our lives. Let's say that the senses, the sight and the hearing, it's our spirit. Immortal spirit, our essence, providing us feedback as feelings and emotions. And those feelings we are feeling those emotions when we are doing positive things or negative things. We feel that. We're feeling joy, or if we are sad, or we are anxious, or we are concerned. All those feelings, it's in our sense. We are feeling that. The car, we can say it's our body that receives the impact of our feelings and emotions. So with our feelings, if they are harmonized, we can have good health. If we are in unbalanced feelings or negative feelings, we can create some diseases on ourselves. We can create mental health like anxiety, or depression, or anything that can harm our physical body. The road, what is the road? The road, we can think that maybe it's our mission, because we are all here, like the question 115 says in the Spirit's book. We are here to complete a mission. God gave us a mission, and this mission is to gradually know the truth and get close to Him. So that's the mission, that's our road. Where this road will take us to the perfection. That's our road. We are on this road towards the perfection, towards the happiness. Perfect. So, and how about the road signs? The road signs are the divine laws, advising us. Hey, here is the charity law. The charity law. Here is the fraternity law. Here is the love law. So every time that we don't see that signs on the road, or we just try to ignore them, we will feel the consequences of that. It's like we are driving on a road and there is the red sign. And if you want to stop, we can stop, right? If you don't want to stop, we can go through. But what's going to happen if you go through a red sign? Another car coming through another direction can hit us, or somebody's crossing, a pedestrian, and we just run over them, or we get a fine because we are passing through the red sign. There is consequences. Same thing for us. The divine laws will not prevent us to do anything that we want to do, because there is another law called the law of the free will that God gave us. And this law, with this law, we can do whatever we want. It's our choice. We can make choices. But along with this law that permits us to choose, there is another law, the consequences of whatever I have chosen. So, have this in mind. We can think that our immortal being's journey towards perfection is based on feedbacks from our choices, from pathways that we decide to take. So whatever pathway that I decide to take, if I want to keep on the straight way, like Emmanuel said here, on the way, the truth, and the life, or if I want to take shortcuts, it's up to me. But which choice that I make, I will have the consequence of that choice. Because before we reincarnate, we have planned our existence. No one is here by chance. No one is here because we just happened to be here. God allows us to come because there is a law called mercy law, and as the Spirit's book says to us, God always keep a door open to those children that needs to repent, to need to repair their pathway. So we have the reincarnation law that is based on the revelation and the God's justice. We have this on the question 171. So, based on the reincarnation law, we restarted our journey. We restarted the journey towards God. However, sometimes we decide to take shortcuts. And why is that? Why we don't keep on the straight way? Why we decide to deviate from the route that takes us to the happiness? Somebody knows? Anyone know? Because as I said, we have the free will.
So sometimes stubborn or ignorant?
Ignorant, I would say. Sometimes we're stubborn too. But mostly ignorant. Because as the question 115 says, we were created simple and unknown. So we don't know. We can say that we are student drivers. So we have that sign on the top of our car.
Slow down.
Slow down, student driver.
Figuring things out.
Trying to figure out things here. So sometimes we just, instead going straight, we decide to take some other pathways. And what is the shortest way to reach from point A to point B? What is the shortest way?
Direct line.
Direct line. But we like to do curves, because it's more. we small fun.
Or just stop at the side of the road too, just to admire
The view.
a beauty. Like if you're here in Alberta, like a beautiful lake, and we just stay there. Don't move forward. It's our choices, right?
It's our choices.
When the snow comes and
There's no comes in there, like, oh, I better go up. I better keep going.
Yeah.
Or like, I will give up. Oh, it's no chance. I'm not going forward. I will just give up.
I'm going to stay here, right? But there is always a way that some signs or maybe a police officer comes and says, hey, you cannot stay here. Keep going, because you need to reach your destiny. And what is the destiny? That is something that no one's for more stubborn they don't want to be, they will never stop. We always will reach our perfection, because this is the divine law. This is something that is determined by law. All of us will get there. The time that we'll take to get there, it's up to us. But God gave us the natural laws. And the natural laws, as it says in the question 614, is the God's law, and show us what we should and what we shouldn't do. And we only are unhappy when we deviated from it. So, we want to be happy or we don't want to be happy? Just really, this is based on the natural laws. Our journey is towards that law. So, that's the invitation that the God's law tell us to do. And, however, we want to deviate. We don't want to go straight. So what do we do? When we decide to not obey the GPS that keeps saying to us, hey, that's the way. So we set up, before we came, we set up a GPS. We put there on our spiritual world, we say, okay, I'm going to go from here to here. We set up there. We did that. And we can say that on the Gospel According to Spiritism, St. Augustine will say that to us. And I highly recommend you guys read this chapter 5 on the Gospel According to Spiritism. Blessed are the afflicted. It's the biggest chapter that we have in the Gospel According to Spiritism. However, it's so consoled. Give us so many answers, I can say, for all our questions regarding lives, regarding afflictions that we have in lives. Questions, why I'm doing, like, what is happening to me? What God wants me to do. Read this chapter 5. It's the one that we are studying this chapter actually right now on the studies, doing the gospel studying on Mondays. So we highly recommend you to read at least once. We should read this chapter. In this chapter, St. Augustine will tell us about our contract, the contract that we signed, the GPS that we set up, and this book as well, Happy Days, or Dias Felizes. So here we have in the chapter 3, it's called Spiritual Agreements, or Contratos Espirituais. And here the Spirit, Honório, will tell us that we signed this contract before we came, with our own conscience, that this was the plan that I would follow when we reincarnate. And this is so important that every time that we deviated from our route, the route that we all set up, there is an inner voice that tells me, hey, it's not right. This is not right. Something is wrong here. Hey, recalculating. And if you don't pay attention on this recalculating, we will feel the master pain knocking on our door. Because the consequences will not be happy, because we are not following the divine laws that only give us the signs that lead us to the happiness. And normally, when we are in suffering, we were taught during centuries of Catholic Church or the teachings that we learned from the other religions that we are committing a sin. You are a sinner. That's what we have been taught. But what is sin? I love the study the root of the words because I guess give us a better understanding about what does it mean. And the root of the sin, the word sin, comes from the Hebrew, chata, and from the Greek, amartia. Both mean missing the mark or of the mark. So, doesn't say that we are bad people, doesn't say that we are committing crime or that we are doing something really wrong. Sometimes we do something really wrong. Sometimes we commit crime. Maybe we have committed so many in our past lives. But we did that because what Victor said, mostly ignorance. So we are missing the mark. We were missing the GPS. The GPS was showing us to go to this way, and we are trying to take other routes, other shortcuts. We are disconnected from our inner GPS. But we will see that missing the mark or getting off the mark doesn't mean that we are bad. In the question 120, we say that to us, that do all spirits travel the road of the evil to arrive at good? So do we need to go to the evil road to be stubborn and to keep committing our wrongdoings? And the answer is no. The road traveled is more like the one of our unawareness rather than evilness. Like this is not what Jesus said to Peter when Peter denied him 3 times. And Peter was looking at Jesus at the moment that Jesus was in prison. Like we see on the book of Humberto de Campos, Good News. Jesus looked at Peter after he denies him 3 times. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Very kind. I'm really with this. Thank you. Jesus said that to Peter. Men are more ignorant than evil. So when we deviate from our route, it's because we are student drivers. We are learning. And that's the pathway that we think that will be the best. I want to do the shortcut because I'll go there, I'll get there fast. I'll get there before than I plan to. But the road that we, or the GPS, the roadmap that we set up before we came is the best for us. There's no other one better for us. But we don't remember that. And that's the reason that the Spiritism is showing us, is clarifying us about Jesus' teachings, is clarifying us about the law of cause and effect. Because the effect comes from the cause. Always. This is axiom. This is a physical law. Every time that I threw a ball in the wall, the ball will come back to me. However, because God's law is perfect and the God is pure, is supreme goodness and supreme wisely or wizard, He will always use the mercy law above the consequences, to minimize the consequences. Because we say, oh, okay, I did that here, so I will receive hear what I have done? Maybe not. Because God knows if we are prepared or not to receive the consequences of our choices. Always, always. So the life's feedbacks remind us that we are walking away from our root. So how God controls our root? Does God control our root or we control? What do you think? Can we control our root? Can we come back to the straight way?
Yes. And we can go off it if we want.
That's right.
Again, and then we come back. And then we go off again.
And then the GPS. Recalculating. Oops. Yeah, that's right. Question 964. Is God concerned with each of our actions to reward or punishes us? Aren't most of such actions insignificant to God? When Kardec asked this question, he asked like a reward or punishment, because that's what we sometimes think. Okay, if I do things good, I will be rewarded. If I do something wrong, I'll be punished. That's how basically the education system is based on. But our life has nothing to do with reward or punishment. These were the words that Kardec used because by that time, there's no many vocabularies, and the vocabularies were according with the church used. But we can resignify those words to say consequences only. What are the consequences? God is concerned about the consequences of our acts. God is there like old elderly man and looking and observing, okay, what Gabriela is doing, okay, so she's not doing good things, and punish her. No, God is not there looking, observing us. And many people think that God is too busy to think about us. What I'm doing, God has the humankind to take care of. Like, he doesn't have time for me. Sometimes people think that. Right? And how God harmonize or how God administrate the humankind towards his laws. God's laws apply to all your actions, and if you violate them, it's your fault. So, where is the God's law? We keep repeating this question here. Somebody remember?
Consciousness.
So how? And then, because the God's law are in our conscience, everything that we do, it's our conscience that asks us to change the root or to come back to the root. It's not God. It's not Jesus. Jesus will not be there judging us, or God will not going to be there judging us.
That's why, like, if you're less ignorant, you have more responsibility. Yeah. Because, like, you already walk the walk, you're a little bit farther down, so in your conscience, you're not supposed, you know what is wrong.
Yes.
In certain situations, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you're more responsible than the one that doesn't. I remember I was giving Carol the example, like, I come here for years and I always park in the public parking upstairs because it says, like, weekend, you can park on weekends.
Oh.
And I realized a few weeks ago that yes, you can park on weekends, but you still gotta pay.
Oh.
And I was parking and not paying. And then I said, okay, I didn't see before. Now that I know I'm not supposed to, I'm less ignorant. So I have exactly. more responsibility to follow the rules, right?
Perfect. So you had an experience. So
yeah, like now I know I still do it, but I know I am doing it wrong.
you're being stubborn.
Or I give myself the excuse that now they're on driving, so it's the husband's responsibility. Or it's his fault, it's not mine. But it's just like, just giving an example of how humans we are and how we do things wrong knowing it's wrong.
That's right.
So then you're more responsible because you have that in your conscience.
Exactly. You had the experience too.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we don't have that experience.
Right.
We try, like you were parking there without knowing that you had to pay, so you were acting unaware. So
I was
you're not.
ignorant,
Yeah. Now you know. So that was an experience that you had. So you didn't need to receive a fine. So you discovered somewhere that if you were parking there, you had to pay, even though it was weekend. Same thing. So the Spiritism is here to provide us this information, so we can make choices wisely, so we can understand beforehand, so we can make good choices. But if we don't know and we commit a mistake, we learn from it, we repair, and we move forward. That's simple like that. So we don't need to enter in a state of pain and suffering. We can learn it. When we understand that we are just students, we are apprentices, and we're here to learn. So if you're not following the straight line towards God, if you decide to deviate a little bit, our conscience will advise us. And anyone, because we can say, okay, but that person doesn't know Spiritism. That person doesn't go to the church. Does it mean? Because the signs of law, of God's law, is everywhere. It's not only in the church, it's not only in the Spiritism, it's in all natural laws, because they are from nature, they are natural laws. So we learn from our own experience. According with our experience, we can learn. So this is not the correct way to go. Let me go back to the correct way to go. We can determine our future based on the choices that we make today. So the feedback from our lives tomorrow will be better, because we are acting wisely today. So Emmanuel says in the preface of the book, Speaking the Earth, he says that the gazelle wakes up with the singing of birds and the rock with the explosion of a dynamite. What does it mean? Sometimes when we are paying attention in our inner voices, when we are more self-centered, when we are paying attention in our hearts, when we are acting, observing ourselves, we are able to understand the signs of life. So we are like the gazelle. We can hear the singing of birds. But when we are so disconnected from our inner GPS, when we are disconnected from the vertical part of our lives, when we are living the horizontal life without being connected with our essence, sometimes life needs to shake us, and sometimes very strong, so we can wake up. So that's the reason that we have to, and we are invited to understand and comprehend that everyone will get there, will get to the perfection. If they are not hearing the singing of the birds right now, they will sing the explosion. They will hear the explosion tomorrow, and they will wake up. And that explosion is not to make anybody feel, to hurt anybody. When we are in suffering, when we are in affliction, it's because we are receiving back the feedback from the life, from our acts. And that's the reason that Jesus said, blessed are the afflicted, for they shall be consoled. So, when Jesus said, for they shall be consoled, he was referring to today's date, or this is a future consolation? Do we need to suffer in order to be consoled? No. Jesus here was saying that we can understand the reasons of our suffering, the afflictions today, that is caused by the acts that we pretended, that we did in the past, or in the same existence. But in the future, we will have a better consoled, because we are gonna make things right. We are gonna make good choices. We can see that in the Gospel according to Spiritism, when Kardec will say that the compensation promised by Jesus to the afflicted of this earth can only be understood in a future life. This is the cause of the present day afflictions, or the past causes of the afflictions that we will receive, that we will help us to understand the process, and then we are gonna make good choices today, and in the future we will be consoled, because we are learn. Because we will learn. And that's the vicissitudes that Kardec likes to say, vicissitudes, or the afflictions that we have in life, derives from a cause. And as God is just, so then the cause must also be just. This is what each of one of us must convince ourselves of. Because sometimes we think that is not just what we're passing through. Sometimes we think, oh, whatever I'm going through today, this is not just. I didn't do anything to deserve this. Every one of us, each of us, we have our own suffering and afflictions. Nobody here in earth are 100% happiness and don't have any problems. We all have problems. However, the way that we see the problem is the key. Because when we see the problem as a consequence of our own act, and we think, okay, what can I learn from this situation that I'm passing through? It's a great way to start. Because at least we are seeking the cause. At least we are trying to understand what is going on, like what is causing me to go through that situation. In this way, we can fix, or we can repair, we can come back to the GPS and calculate a new route. To come back to the route that I have set up before, and then I will feel that console. And this is what's revealed by the Spiritism. And that's the console and the greatest that Spiritism brings to us. Because help us to understand our own afflictions. Help us to understand Jesus' teachings. When he said, blessed are the afflicted. Because most of the time we think, okay, I need to suffer in order to have the merit to be happy. No, Jesus didn't say that. Jesus said that blessed are, or happy are, those that know why they are passing through the afflictions. Because they understand God's justice. And that is the reason that we will see and we understand what Jesus said here. Very truly I tell you, everyone who sins is a slave to sin. Now that we know what sin means, which is missing the mark, so everyone that missed the mark, everyone that go to the shortcut, needs to come back. There's no way to keep going, because if you keep going, as far as we keep going, more distant we will be from our root. And sometimes there's no time to come back to the same root in the same existence. So we have the mercy from the reincarnation law to bring us back to the root again. And because we took that shortcut, we had to restart. Because that's the route that takes us to the happiness, and this is what God planned to us, to all His children. God only wants us to be happy. And that's the reason of the cause and effect law. That's the reason of the cause and effect law act in our lives, happens in our lives. Our Father in heaven provides us this lovely way to learn. It's not a punishment law, but it's just a way that we can learn. And then we'll see the pedagogy of the divine laws. We can understand it. We can feel it in our lives. We can understand the meaning of our situations. And we can determine how my life will be tomorrow. But what is pedagogy? Let's go back to the root of the word again. Pedagogy and pedagogue come from the Greek paidos, boy, child, plus agogos, leader. Thus, the word pedagogy refers to the act of leading a child. What we are.
Children of God.
Children of God. We are children. We are student drivers. We are immortal spirits in a journey of learning. So, if we are in this journey to learn, if you are students, if you are children, the divine laws are here to lead us towards God. And we see that in the question 115 as well. But 115a, when Kardec asks, according to the statement, spirits are like children when they are born unaware and without experience. However, gradually they acquire the knowledge that they lack by experiencing the different phases of human life. Kardec states that. And then the spirits, the benevolent spirits will say, yes, that is a fair comparison. Rebellious children remain ignorant and imperfect. How much they benefit depends on their obedience. A person's life has an end, while that of spirits extends beyond infinity. What we don't learn here, right now, in this present existence, we will learn in the future, 700 years. But his mother never gave up of him. She was always there, waiting for the time that will come when he will start feeling boring. So he started feeling boring, and then she started acting, and she was able to rescue him after 1,700 years. So we can delay our wait to God as much as we can, as much as we want, but we will never be there forever. So that's the consolation, because doesn't matter how long we want to be away from our happiness, one day we will be there. And the purpose of the divine laws is just to readjust our route to God. That's the only purpose. That's the road signs that will take us back to our route. However, we also have in the Gospel according to Spiritism, and we here in the Spiritism sometimes we think, okay, Sonia is passing through a challenging moment in her life, but because the law in effect, I cannot help her. So she needs to pass through that situation because it's the cause and effect law that is acting there. So let's her suffering. In the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 5, the Bernardine Protect Spirit will say, therefore, always help each other mutually in your respective probations. Because why he says probation here? Are we we are on vacation here? We are living in a planet of happiness? No. We are still in a planet of trial and expiation. So we are still internal. We are here in this school planet, let's say. So we are in probation. We are all in the same school. And then that's the reason that this benevolent spirit says that, respective probations. And never consider yourself as an instrument of torture. Every person who has a heart should revolt against such an idea, especially all spiritists, because they more than anyone else should understand the infinity extension of God's goodness. So here we will see that God helps his creatures with his own creatures. So we can be instrument of consoling, instrument of happiness, instrument of comfort. We are here to help each other. This is not what Jesus told us, love one another. So when we see a friend of ours, a relative, passing through a pain situation, let's open up in our hearts. Let's show our compassion, our love, and embrace that person. Because when we do for others, we are doing for ourselves too. Because we can learn from each other. I can learn from each person that passed through my life. I can learn from the suffering of others. All right, this person is passing through this situation, maybe because the cause was a bad choice done in the past or in this existence. But I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm here to help. And I'm not here to judge myself as well. I'm here to help myself. Because sometimes we the same way that we judge others, we judge ourselves. The same way that we are not compassionate to each other, we are not compassionate to ourselves as well. Because whatever we do is because we have. We are not able to do or to feel for others what I don't feel for myself, what I don't do for myself. So that's the importance of we are looking or paying attention on our road. Pay attention or what are the other cars running along with us in those roads. Because they can teach us, they can help us to give us some advice, to give us some directions. No, doesn't go to that way. I went through there. It's not good. And we also can help them. Hey, I have who I have went to that road, I have gone to that road, and it's not going to take me to the right pathway. It's amazing text that we can see on the Gospel according to the Spiritism. I'm just bringing some paragraphs for you to understand and to see how much consoling, how many things we can have in this chapter, and how important it is for us to understand the law of cause and effect, that it's not a law of punishment, but a law of love, law of mercy, but give us always a new chance to repair our ways. And this is not what Peter said to us in his letter. Above all, love each other deeply, because love covers over a multitude of sins. We don't need to repair our bad choices with pain and suffering. No. We can repair, we can move our life ahead with love. Because at the end of the day, it's only love that matters. We have here in the Spirit, some people in the Spiritism movement say that if we don't go with love, we go with pain. This is not
Love is the answer for everything.
for everything. Because if I go with the pain, I can rebel, and I can say, I'm not going to go. I'm going to stay here. And the love, we cannot rebel against love, because love, it's a light energy, embraces us, bring console, bring peace. So when we understand what is the reason that I'm going through, the things that I'm going through, when I understand with the mind and with the soul, then I'll feel love and I will go. Because I understand that's the best for me. Because I realized that if I stay stuck here, if I don't want to walk, I will be the one that will be suffering. And that God only wants for me happiness and love. So that's what Peter says here. Above all, love each other and believe. Love covers a multitude of sins. And this is what Jesus said to Maria de Magdala as well. Mary de Magdala. When she came to him and asked him, Lord, God will give me another chance besides everything that I have done. And Jesus looked at her and says, love covers a multitude of sins. Have you ever seen a house destroyed, but with flowers that the spring brings growing on its wall? That's the love of God for every children, for every of his child. Any of us can make a good route or another route, a new route. It depends on us. The good that we do today will tell or will be in our behalf in everything that happens in our lives. Love is always the answer. So this is there for me. This is all for me. And the bibliography is basically the Spirit's book, the Gospel according to Spirit's book, the Gospel of Matthew and John, the Law of Cause and Effect and the Divine Pedagogy from Artur Valadares, and the Book of Life, Humberto Campos, by Francisco Cândido Xavier. Anyone has any questions or comments?
Thank you.
Yeah. Whenever we pray before starting something like this, a study about God, we ask that the words come easily to our ears. You're good at that. You have a good
Oh,
Good.
thank you. Thanks so much. And I highly recommend this book as well for the Portuguese speakers. This chapter 3 is very consoled to our hearts and remind us about our spiritual agreement with our own conscience that every one of us have. And that's the plan that we are here. That's the reason that we are here, because we have a plan. Any questions there? No? Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. So let's do our final prayer before we go to the tests. Master Jesus, we are very grateful for your help, your intuitions that help us clarify our questions regarding our lives, our choices. We are very grateful for all the spirits that helped us with the talk today. We are grateful for being here, for allowing us for another day that we are able to learn, that we were able to make good choices. May your love surround us, embrace us in our choices today, Master. Help us to be connected with your love in your teachings so we can be a better person, a better version of ourselves. Thank you for this opportunity of learning and of loving. May your peace and your love be with us this Sunday and always. So be it.